Hi there, BookTube. My name is Nathan, and this is the Rambling Reviewer, so called because I tend to ramble a lot. And I imagine this video will have a little bit more rambling than normal because, well, this is the third time I've tried to make this video. Two times I just didn't like what I had, and then the third time I was interrupted. Um, and in each case, I had some difficulty with the words. Those words being prop and prompt. So I will try my best not to stumble over those words and talk like I was born into this language as opposed to just stumbled upon it last week. Either way, though, I do have a TBR for you today. In November, I will be taking part in 3 events, two of which I've already talked about. Those being New Worlds November, where the goal is to read short form under 250 pages, science fiction, and we have categories, we have prompts. I am a co-host. We have a lot of other great co-hosts, and of course, we are led into battle, into a great space battle, by the bookish Bryants, Scott and Becky. And the second book event is Nonfiction November, which is being hosted, as always, by Olive at Ebook Olive. The goal is to read nonfiction, and we have one-word prompts, very open-ended, and I have thought about the prompts, and I have some books that I want to read. And the third event that I'm talking to you now about is Evilathon, which is being hosted by Tasha over at Tasha's Book Cemetery, where the goal is to extend the Halloween spirit, or season, into November and read horror fiction. And the horror fiction is based on prompts, which is in turn based on horror movies from the 90s. So I figured I'd just jump right into it, tell you the prompts, tell you the book ideas I have. I should note, though, that I will not read all of these. I know I won't. No way in hell. I made up a Goodreads TBR, and it looks like I have about 24 books right now, not counting any latecomers, not counting other science fiction short stories I might want to read, not counting whatever Steve and Matthew over at Matthew over at Bayberry Book Club decided to read, which I like to follow along with. Also, I just remembered that I didn't put in David Wiley's Medieval-a-thon book yet, so it's probably more going to be around like 30. So, which is too much for me, and I will not read all these. But it's still fun to dream and give myself a goal to work towards. But either way, I will jump right into these prompts. The first prompt, Silence of the Lambs, is a movie I have seen, is to read a book with a killer in it. And that can be fiction or nonfiction. Now, I'm actually not a big fan of true crime fiction. True crime nonfiction. I don't know why. I'm just not. So the book I chose is From Hell by Alan Moore, which is a graphic novel. Alan Moore wrote Watchmen, V for Vendetta, and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I read The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen last year, or maybe a year and a half ago, and I absolutely love it. It is a kind of an Avengers or Justice League-esque team of Victorian-era characters. There is Captain Nemo and the Invisible Man, Mina Murray from Dracula, Dr. Jekyll / Mr. Hyde, Captain Nemo, and Alan Quartermain, and they are fighting all kinds of Victorian era baddies like Professor Moriarty and Fu Manchu. So this will be a fun thing to read since I've not read it yet. From Hell, that is. Prompt 2 is also a movie I've seen that is Event Horizon, which is to read a science fiction horror, which that's perfect for me because I'll be reading a lot of science fiction, and a lot of it will probably have horror elements in it. In the first week alone, I will be reading Who Goes There, which is the inspiration for The Thing, and I will be reading it out of the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, Volume 2A. This was edited by Ben Bova. It includes a lot of short stories, a lot of novellas actually. This is a collection of novellas. And it includes a lot of novellas. I do plan to read all of this in the months of November, but one of those stories will be Who Goes There. In fact, that will probably be the first one I read. I also plan to read At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft, which you can see up in the corner, my big collection of H.P. Lovecraft right there. With the red spine. I think that's red. I'm colorblind. I did decide to choose one more, though, which is The Free Stigmata of Eldritch Palmer by Philip K. Dick, which I don't own, which I really don't know too much about, but I need to read more Philip K. Dick, so I decided to add that one to my list. Prompt number 3 is The Blair Witch Project, which I have seen, and that is to read a book about a legend or a myth. And for this, I will be reading a book I've been wanting to read for a while, The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I actually read my first Stephen Graham Jones story about 3 or 4 days ago. That was The Tree of Self-Knowledge. I read it out of a collection of horror stories from 2011, I think. And I quite liked it. And this story is about a Native American legend involving a deer woman. I don't know much else about it, but I am excited to read this because it has been recommended to me. Well, it was recommended on his channel by Steve Donahue, so. Prompt number 4. I was stupid and I closed. There we go. Prompt number 4 is to read. Prompt number 4 is Sixth Sense by M. Night Shyamalan, which I have watched. And that is to read a book with a ghost. And my choice for this one is The Ring by Koji Suzuki. I love Asian horror. I love Asian horror movies. The Ringu is one of my favorites. Not my favorite. I prefer Cairo, which was made into the American remake Pulse, which I've not seen the remake of that. I like Dark Water better. I like Noroi, The Curse better. But Japanese horror is just amazing. And Korean horror too. I Saw the Devil. Tale of Two Sisters. A lot of great East Asian horror out there. And The Ring is, of course, the inspiration for the Japanese movie Ringu, which was then adapted into the American remake with Naomi Watts, The Ring. And I think it's high time I read that. Number 5 is Ringu, because Ringu was released, I believe, in like 1998 or 99. And that is to read a book that is cursed. That I've been meaning to read, but still haven't. Maybe it's been on a bunch of my TBRs. I have 2 possibilities for this. I probably will read both of them. One of them is The Only Good Indians, which I have read, or which I have been meaning to read for a while. I started it once, I read about 20 pages of it, and just didn't get back to it. The other one, though, which Bob's books, who is one of my co-hosts on in New World's November, mentioned her reading Hall of Shame, I believe she called it. Books that she's not read that she really should have by now. And this one is one of mine. Dracula. This is a beat up old copy. Really beat up, actually. I think I bought it. I think when I bought it, it was this bad, but I had started this book 2 or 3 times and just never finished it. And done it for several book events, Booktobers, over Halloween, which are the same, so I don't know why I said both of those. And incidentally, Heather over at Heather's Heroes and Heroines will be reading this book with her Discord group in November. So I plan to join up. Although I might look into getting a better copy before then. Because this thing is on its last limb, so. Either way, though, Dracula is definitely a must-read for November. Because I feel bad that I haven't read it. I should. Prompt number 6 is House on Haunted Hill, which is to read a book about a group of friends, which I forgot to grab. But I will be reading, I will be rereading The Haunting of Hill House, which is also, there's a lottery right there. I think it's right there? Maybe? Yeah, it's Haunting of Hill House. No, it's The Lottery and the Stories by Shirley Jackson. We Have Always Lived in the Castle, the little orange one right there. And then The Haunting of Hill House, which is her book about a group of, not really friends, but a group of people who were brought together by a scientist to live for a couple of weeks, I think. I don't remember the exact time frame. Inside of a haunted house, the Hill House. And it is terrifying, psychological, it is weird and creepy, it makes you question everything about the book. But I love it. It's one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite horror book, actually. Definitely up there. And I want to reread it, so I will be doing that in November. Number 7 is Candyman, which I have seen. Which is to read a book with an insect on the cover. And for this, I have The Wasp Factory. Which, I'll be honest, I couldn't remember the exact plot synopsis the other day when I was talking about this, and I can't remember it now. I should have double-checked this. Part of the reason I didn't double-check it is, to be completely honest, I don't really have very high plans to read this one. It's more just a placeholder. I've wanted to read it forever, but my interest has kind of decreased, because there's so many other books that I want to read. If you've read The Wasp Factory, let me know. Tell me about it. And maybe it will, my interest will rise a little bit again. But that's kind of a placeholder for now. Number 8, Audition, which I have not seen, but I know enough about it, to know that maybe I don't want to see it. Which is to read a book that was recommended to you. And Dracula works for this. The Only Good Indian works for this. Another book that I have that I might read, although it's a little bit longer. So I probably won't read it, but it's Wolf Hour by Robert McCammon. His book about a werewolf who fights Nazis, which is a great idea. And I've heard it's a great book. It's just a little bit too long for a month with 30 other books to read. The one I will probably read for this, though, is one that also works for prompt number 2, Event Horizon, and that is John W. Wyndham's The Day of the Triffids. The Day of the Triffids, about a bunch of giant killer plants. It has been recommended by like 6 other booktubers to me in the past 2 weeks. David Wiley talked about it on his channel. Michael K. Vaughn talked about it on his channel. In our Voxer group of New World's November Coasts, Darius over at Books, Songs, and Other Magic has talked about it. I think Sean D. Stanfast has talked about it. I think Brandy over at the Booklectic has talked about it. A bunch of people have talked about it, so I need to read it. And I want to read it, so that will probably be another pick for New World's November, but that will also work for Evilathon. Number 9 is I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I've not seen, and that's to read outside of your genre. And for this, I chose Uzumaki by Junji Ito. I have read a little bit of manga, but not a ton. And I've been meaning to read more Junji Ito specifically. I read his story, The Enigma at Amigara Faults, which is phenomenal, and which I will link down below because that's kind of a hard name to remember. But, so I've been wanting to read that for a little while. And the final prompt is Scream. That is to watch a movie, not read a book, that will make you scream. And for this, I plan to watch a couple East Asian horror movies that I have not yet seen. So if you know of any East Asian horror movies, tell me about them down below. I do plan to watch The Wailing, which is another Korean ghost horror movie. I plan to watch Shudder, which is I believe it's a Thai horror movie. I plan to watch a couple other Japanese horror movies. I think there's one called like Suicide Club. Unrelated to the DC team. And I'll probably figure out a couple others and watch them. But that is my TBR for the books I have here. I don't have a ton of them, but boom. Even though I probably won't read that one. If you're planning on taking part in Evilathon, let me know. What are you planning on reading? Do you have a hugely overinflated TBR like I do, or are you keeping things measured and easy? Coward. I'm kidding. Probably would be a better idea, actually, as opposed to me trying to tell myself I'm actually going to read all this, plus the 4 novellas that I've got for New World's November, plus the 20, 30 stories I have written down for New World's November, plus the 5 or 6 other books that I have written for nonfiction November, and then there's a lot of stuff. But I know I will have fun with all of it, so. And for one of the first times in the TBR, making TBR videos, I'm really, really excited. These are all stuff that I really, really want to read. And so that is very exciting for me. So, I hope to be doing more videos soon, talking about some of this stuff. I hope to see all of you doing videos talking about what you're reading. Okay. Bye, BookTube. Have a great day.